adventure, and today we're in Southport, North Carolina, visiting the locations used for I Know What You Did Last Summer. Now, I Know What You Did Last Summer was one of my favorite films growing up. It was actually the first scary movie that I had ever seen, and I saw it Halloween night of 1998. Now, the film actually came out in October of 1997, and it starred Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., and Ryan Phillippe. It was about four friends who make a tragic mistake by hitting a man, and instead of just calling the cops and turning themselves in, they dump his body in the ocean to cover it up. A year later, he returns and he wants some vengeance. Now, the movie is actually based on the book by the same name. The book was written in 1973 by Lois Duncan, and it's centered around four friends who are up in the mountains partying one night, and they're drinking and doing drugs. They're on the way home and they accidentally hit a child riding his bike. They didn't call the cops right away. Obviously, it was 1973 when the book was written, so they didn't have cell phones. So when they got to a payphone and called for help, it was already too late, and the kid died en route to the hospital. Now, after the success of Scream, Kevin Williamson was asked to pen the screenplay based on the novel, and he set the film here in Southport, North Carolina. Now, the novel itself was actually set in or around Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it never actually says where they're at, but given the context clues, they mention a couple of the parks that are out there. So I did my homework and just to fine tune and make sure, and my guess is that the book takes place in or around Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now, I wanted to take a moment to talk about the accident within the book and in the movie, because they're slightly similar but then slightly different. Now, in the book, Barry is driving Ray's car, while in the movie, Ray is driving Barry's car. And to set the pace, in the book, Barry is driving Ray's car extremely fast down a winding road when he hits the young child riding his bike late at night, and the child actually did not have lights on the back of his bike. Now, in the movie, Ray is driving Barry's car, and Barry stands up in the sunroof and then drops his bottle of liquor on Ray and Julie, which distracts them for a quick minute, and they accidentally hit the fisherman, and then all the craziness then ensues. Now, speaking of the fisherman, I wanted to talk about him for a second. Now, while he might be on the cover of the book, he actually never makes an appearance in the book. That was completely made for the film, because obviously, for a slasher film, you need a big bad with, of course, a fish hook. That said, I'm not going to tell you who the big bad is in the novel itself, so go out, get the book, read it, and let me know what you think. I would love to hear. Now, we couldn't come all the way to Southport, North Carolina without giving you all a little bit of history about the town. Now, in 1792, the town was first established as Smithville, and it was named after Ben Smith, a colonel in the Revolutionary War. In 1887, Smithville changed its name to Southport because they wanted to be known as a major shipping port here in North Carolina. Now, in the film, Fishy Fishy, which is right in front of us, subbed as the gym that Barry was working out in. His car was parked right at the entrance of the building. As he's getting ready to leave the building, he hears his car crank up and take off. Barry begins to chase his car down when it stops. He first believes it's Max, however, it's the fisherman. The fisherman backs down the road right in front of us and then runs Barry over. Now, that's the first thing that happens in this spot. The second thing that happens in the spot is the parade scene. Now, this area is pretty much a big circle. In the film, if you watch very, very closely, you can tell they are actually going around in a big circle. No exaggeration. Watching closely, you will see Sarah Michelle Gellar's character, Helen, on the float. She's waving, and then you see the Southport muscle. And then it cuts, and she's away from the Southport muscle. But then it will cut back, and she's at the Southport muscle. Then, as she's coming through here, right up there is where she sees the fisherman standing with his large hook. Now, in the book, Barry gets a call while he is at his frat house, and it's some guy saying, I have pictures, you need to come meet me. And pictures from the accident from a year earlier. So while he's going to meet him, he's crossing the athletic field and gets shot. And they believe he's going to be paralyzed. However, by the end of the book, you realize that he has movement in his leg. So he's not fully paralyzed, which is a great thing. However, as you know, in the movie, he is killed at the Amuse Theater during not Helen's pageant, but Helen's on stage and he's watching her and then the fisherman comes up behind him and gets him, and Helen's on stage and she sees it and she starts flipping out, and then they go upstairs and he's gone and there's no trace of him. But there's blood, just the cop didn't see it. But yeah, I think, all that said, I think that this is the spot where Barry got run over at. It's either this spot or that spot right down there. So. So we're at the Muse Theater, and apparently the most famous live performance here was by Gene Austen. So that's pretty cool. And there have been 3 major films filmed here. First, Crimes of the Heart, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and then The Secret Life of Bees. Now, I have not seen The Secret Life of Bees. However, one of my favorite actors is actually in the film, which is Hilary Burton. So I'm kind of a bad fan when it comes to that because I've not seen it. However, I Know What You Did Last Summer is why we're here today. Now, there were 2 scenes that were filmed here. The first was like kind of the opening where you're introduced to Helen, Barry, and Julie and Ray. Helen was running for the Cricket Queen pageant and she won. And in the book, she actually doesn't win a Cricket Queen pageant. She wins the Channel 5 News Beauty Queen contest, and the way that she won it was she submitted photographs and then they picked them. Now again, this book was written in the 1970s, so a different time period altogether. But yeah, that's the difference between the book and the movie. So did you ever see I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Did I ever see it? A few times.
Oh my heavens, look how gorgeous this is up here. Oh my Lord, my God.
All right, the beauty pageant, I Know What You Did Last Summer, was on the stage. Ryan Felipe, or whatever his name is, got killed right over there. Remember, he was watching the girl in the beauty pageant, and so it came up hooked him.
Yes, he got him good, and so that happened right over here. So then the blood on the
The blood was dripping on that thing, and it wasn't. I looked right after to see if it was there, and it wasn't.
They cleaned it up. In the film, this is where the big Kroger Queen contest happens, or the big Kroger Queen pageant happens. So Sarah Michelle Gellar was up on stage there, and then when we return the next summer, she's sitting right in this area. Now, in the first summer, before all the chaos happens, this is where Julie, Ray, and Barry are hanging out at, and over there is where Barry is killed, and the blood was dripping down the banister. This place is absolutely gorgeous, and the owner is phenomenal. I just found out that this theater has been in his family for 100 years. So, phenomenal. Right now I am standing where Julie has her whole freak out and she's like, "What are you waiting for, huh?" That happened right here. And you notice there is the tree, there's the house that's visible in that scene, and she was parked right about where my car is parked. When she hears something in her trunk, she opens it up and it hurts her friend Max, who, well, I really don't know if he's actually her friend, but it's Max. Max is in her trunk full of crabs in Barry's jacket that went missing at the gym. So yeah, that all happened right here, and she screams like, "What are you waiting for, huh?" Like, that all happened right here. And Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. are all kinds of crazy right here looking at her like she's insane. And right through there is going to be where Helen's house is at. So we about to go there. We are now at Helen's house from I Know What You Did Last Summer. The house has changed a little bit. A few years ago, they completely gutted it. And, I mean, they just remodeled it. They put some trees out in front of the house. I'm guessing to keep tourists like myself from actually coming up and taking photos of it, so I don't really blame them. But it also looks like it's a rental house because there's new people from New Jersey that's parked outside of it. So I would assume it's a rental house. But in the film, a really cool scene happens where the fisherman, Julie drops her off right outside the house where the car is parked. And Helen goes inside. The fisherman slips in behind her, sneaks into her closet, and then when she goes to sleep, chops all of her hair off. And then the wake up scene where she wakes up and she realizes all of her hair has been chopped off and flips out and sees the "soon" written in her lipstick on the mirror, which was really cool. And yeah. Now I'm not sure if I've covered this or not, but in the book, Helen actually lives at the Four Seasons apartment. She doesn't live with her family. Elsa, however, on the other hand, still lives with her mom and dad. So that's the difference between the book and the movie. Alright guys, we're now at Julie James' house from I Know What You Did Last Summer. Now, Julie in the book... Now, Julie's living situation from the film and the book are more in common with each other. Julie was actually still in high school in the book, whereas in the film, she's just back from college, but she's still staying with her mom when she's home from college. So, yeah, that's where Julie James lived at in the film. I'm now in the alleyway where the most epic chase scene finally ended. In the film, actually, take that back. I'm in the alleyway where the most epic chase scene began and then ended. Now, how did that happen? Complete and total movie magic. So, in I Know What You Did Last Summer, my hair's all kind of wonky right now, guys. So in I Know What You Did Last Summer, the police officer and Helen pull down this alleyway right here, and he parks, and the fisherman is over in this area, and he's pretending to work on his truck, right? The officer gets out, he says, "Can I help you? Like, you need some help?" Or something along those lines, like, so don't quote me on that. And she starts screaming, "It's him, it's him." And the officer's like, "What is she saying?" He's looking at her, he turns around, and then the fisherman guts him. She kicks out the window, and then she takes off that way. When we see her again, she is running. And she is running, and you see her silhouette, which is what I showed you in Burgosh. So you see her silhouette, you see the fisherman's silhouette. And then she runs up to Shiver's department store, which is again in Burgosh, North Carolina. It's Harold's department store, and she starts beating on the window. The chase scene happens in there. Her sister gets murdered, and then she jumps out of the window. She jumps into a trash can, or big trash dump, and then she takes off running. The scene then cuts to the theater that's way over there, or right over there I should say. And Julie runs in and everyone's out of there. And then it cuts back over here, and they had doctored up the alleyway. And at the end of the alleyway is where all the tires were set up, and Helen was finally killed by the fisherman. Now, I honestly thought, like, she put up the hardest fight in the whole film. I really do believe that. And I honestly thought she was going to survive, if anyone. And of course, she's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, hello, you think that she is going to be the one who is going to escape. But nope, she met her untimely demise at the end of this alleyway in some tires, because she, she mistakenly turned around when she heard a noise. Like, why would you turn around, Helen? Makes no sense, but that's how you make a horror film, I guess. So, alright guys, that's it for me today. I hope that you've enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it. It's been an absolute treat. I Know What You Did Last Summer has been one of my favorite scary films, or favorite horror films, ever since I was a child. And like I said earlier today, it was the first horror film that I had ever seen. So it's got a special place in my heart. And so seeing the locations that they used for the film, hearing the people who own the locations to tell their stories about their encounters with the actors, I just think it's phenomenal. And I'm very, very privileged and blessed to be here today. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you all enjoyed this video today. If you did, make sure to smash that like button and that subscribe button, and I will see you all next week. Bye now.